Out of bounds near sideline. And near the first down marker, near the 18-yard line. And now here's Ricks handing the ball off on a running play. They get the ball to the fullback, and James Coleman barrels over the 40-yard line. That'd be enough for the first down.
Leon Washington checks in for the Seminoles to tailback. They will pitch it to him. Going to turn the corner, puts a head down. Did he get it over the cone? Yeah, they say touchdown. James Coleman with a good block in the play.
You are looking live at Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee, Florida. Chief Osceola prepares to open another season for the Seminoles of Florida State. Ball is just outside the 1-yard line. Here's the fullback again.
Oh, it's a great run by Coleman. I think everybody thought the play was over. He kept spinning and spinning and spinning.
Both fullbacks are ahead of Booker. Second down and goal for Rutherford. Straight ahead. James Coleman, the fullback, the 260-pound senior who inside the 5 will use powers and cross for the game's first score.
Spiegel and Holmes, afternoons on the Score.
It's the beautiful thing about working with Chris Tannehill. He is going to bring you out. That's the way it should work when you have someone coming on your show. And we've got someone coming on our show that can tell us a little bit about Jacksonville and what's going on with the Jaguars. James Coleman works for First Coast News Florida, football analyst for the Sports Den podcast. James, thanks for being available for us. We really appreciate you jumping on the show.
I appreciate you having me.
So first things first, how would you describe what's gone wrong in Jacksonville over, let's call it the last 12 weeks of football in Jacksonville? What's gone wrong?
Well, what happens is the guys that you drafted or paid well just haven't been performing well. One of the Trevor Lawrence goes down a little bit, and he hasn't been able to play to the level of a number 1 overall pick. Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen have both not been what you want at times together as a defensive end combo, and the wide receivers that you bring in haven't been making the big plays. So you have that combined with lack of leadership and guys not being able to finish the game. When you look at this season in particular, all but one game, and that obviously the massacre in Buffalo have been 1-score games where the Jags were actually leading at some point. But the offense couldn't finish the drill. I think your offense is anemic if you can't get over 21 points in the game consistently. And I think if your defense can't get off the field, then you need some real deal bad A mofos that you need to bring in, and they haven't had that. So, but all that being said, they almost figured it out in Houston. But I told some of the Houston fans when I was there, hey guys, 4 minutes is a lot of time for the Jags to jag. And then then last week, even then, I'm gonna be honest with you, 7 seconds with the lead seemed like an eternity. But sometimes the best solution to bad things is winning. Winning cures everything, and they won. So good.
So can you give me those adjectives before mofos again? It was.
I call it a BAM. You gotta have BAMs. I don't want to get you guys. I'm podcast, so I can say whatever I want, but I say bad A mofo. So
yeah. I think we can say badass. I think we're good, right? Yeah.
Okay, well then cool. A badass mother person.
But that edit we appreciate. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect that to the lack of leadership that you mentioned, and I'm gonna go ahead and connect that to the reports we heard of Doug Peterson maybe losing the locker room. You tell me how that all plays out. What kind of chaos are we dealing with here between the roster and the head coach?
I think, again, it comes down to winning. Winning will win you the locker room all the time. If you lose, losing is contagious. Winning is contagious. I don't believe in the adage of losing a locker room. I've been in locker rooms. I've played before. When you start winning, have you ever heard of a bad team with a good culture? And have you ever heard of a good team with a bad culture? So the winning cures all. But I will say that some of the things where Doug has talked about and his allegiance to Press Taylor at times and how you saw a guy, Caldwell last year, getting fired because his team didn't do what they needed to do. You see accountability in spurts, and accountability is not consistent. So when accountability is not consistent, you don't necessarily lose it. People just feel bad. And when you see guys like Travis Etienne continue to be the starter, but you see a guy like Tank Bigsby be the better running back, you start seeing guys be like, okay, well, there's nothing I can do. Well, now they're starting to change that. If you look at the last 2 weeks, Tank Bigsby has been getting the lion's share of the carries when it becomes running, and they've been running the ball better. You see Trevor not getting chewed out for overthrowing guys, and it's crazy because in the Houston game, he had 3 touchdowns that he just literally overthrew. He didn't overthrow him this game, so it was like, cool. I even on video said, man, we're trying this thing where we throw it to the guy and he catches it and we score. It's amazing. That's an interesting strategy.
That Monday,
that's kind of where it comes down.
That Monday night game was a nightmare. And look, I'm a Bama guy, so I'm used to seeing Trevor Lawrence do well. And seeing Trevor Lawrence struggle the way that he has been disheartening. What's happened? Because if you go back to the comeback playoff game, and you go, okay, here's the moment where Trevor Lawrence arrives. What's happened in that window since then where you go, wow, this maybe he isn't the franchise quarterback that most people thought he was going to be?
As a Florida State guy, I saw both Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne terrorize me. So, like, I'm very disappointed at times. But here's what happened. When Doug came in, we knew he had a quarterback that we should call it surviving Urban here in Jacksonville, how bad it was. Like, if I had the money, I would do a Netflix special for it. But Doug comes in, and what he does is he brings in so many quarterback guys, coaches that were former quarterbacks or quarterback gurus. What was his name? Jim Bob Cooter, one of my favorite names in all of sports.
Yeah, we remember him when he was in the division here in the NFC North.
Yeah, didn't he go to the Wendy's without pants on? Isn't that Jim Bob?
No, I don't think that was him.
He woke up in the lady's house that he wasn't supposed to.
That's what it was.
That's what it was. My bad.
So, hey, sometimes good Cooter does that to you. But but when I think about all of those guys and Doug's cool, calm, and collectiveness coming in, and I tell people, good coaching in the NFL will make you at least an average team. It's hard to be as bad as the Jaguars have been in the 17 years I've lived in this city. It's easier to win a Super Bowl than to be as bad as they are. So they came in, gave them some direction. Those guys left, and they felt Trevor took the training wheels off of him. But he needed one more year with that. So you saw that kind of last season to get down, and then this year. And he doesn't have the consistency with the receivers. They brought in Ridley, and him and Ridley couldn't get on the same page, so they got rid of Ridley. So you bring it, but you had Christian Kirk who was doing well. You had Evan Ingram. You lose Evan Ingram some of the last season. You lose him this season. He hasn't been out there. You got to go out there with Brent Strange. And, I mean, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but, he's okay, but he ain't Evan Ingram. So you're going out there with guys that aren't making plays, but you bring in Brian Thomas Jr., you bring in Gabe Davis. You have Christian Kirk, who I believe is just one of the best number 2 wide receivers that we've seen in recent history. And he hasn't got on the same page as them. So now he's on the same page, at least the last 2 weeks, and you got to hope to build from that.
So we're with James Coleman, who's just absolutely outstanding. I got to apologize to Joe Cullen and the family of Joe Cullen. He's the assistant coach who went through the Wendy's naked.
Yes,
I don't want to put that on Jim Bob Cooter.
He did something else.
Yeah, he's got enough. All right, you mentioned what would be your favorite scene to produce in the Netflix documentary about Urban Meyer? What's the story that you would like to map out and show in that Netflix documentary, James?
Well, here's the thing. As a guy, I used to like to fight, and I've seen people get kicked before. I've never seen somebody get kicked that didn't deserve it. Like Kevin Hart had this thing where his girl got kicked in the face, and he's like, "Don't look at me. Anybody kicks you in the face, you saw it coming." When he kicks the kicker, I want to map that out, and I want to really because kickers aren't people. Kickers they don't practice. That you only need them for one thing, and they choke, and you got to think of all the years you've been getting CTE, and then this guy trots out there. He don't have to hit nobody. Your job is to kick an oblong object through 2 sticks, and you choke when you do it at times. I need you to be 100% automatic if that's your only job. So I'm going to show it from Urban's point of view, the kicker's point of view, and the team's point of view. Because clearly you got kicked, and then you didn't even stand up for yourself. You kick me, you're going to have to kick me out the league. Because it's going to be an impression left on you. And I'm not going to just do the news either. I'm going to you're going to do the news about me because I'm going to put my foot up your behind. I'm going to show you how to kick. Have you ever seen Urban get kicked 50 yards? That's what you would have seen in practice that day if he kicked me.
Gonna be some smoke in the city, as Bernie Mac would say.
Well, what
They called Jacksonville to bang them, and it's a very tough place to be around. Urban would have got an opportunity to see how tough it was to be in Jacksonville, but he kicked the kicker. You notice he did not kick a real person.
But they still ended up getting him up out of there, though.
Yeah,
So,
He got out of there.
Brian Thomas Jr. was my favorite receiver in this year's draft. How's he doing?
He is amazing. Again, I've only seen the only person who stopped him is on his team, Jerry Jones in college. He literally is. We haven't had a guy that can take the top off of the defense in quite some time. A lot of people remember Allen Robinson, but Allen Robinson was a 50-50 jump ball guy. Brian Thomas Jr.'s routes and his explosiveness are what make him a weapon, and you have to take an account. So even when last week the coach tried to go too high safety to stop it, and they couldn't. They went one high safety. They had to go too high safety to stop it. You know who hates that? Mel Kiper just thinks that the too high safety just got developed last year. It's not like it's not been around since the invention of football, but so they do that to stop him. And now you got guys like Gabe Davis and Christian Kirk that can get involved. But again, he ran like a fade. I don't even want to call it. It wasn't a slow go because a slow go is a slant and go. It's like the opposite of that. But he just got behind the safety, and again, it went for 6. And they got a pose. It was frozen. I don't know who did it, but the DB dives out, and I just said that reminded me of Soulja Boy. Tell him he tried to Superman that, and I've never seen it like on a pro level before. It's like Pop Warner where you want to show you gave effort. And I'm like, brother, this isn't an effort. This isn't I-9 sports where it's like it's not an effort league. Like you can either get it done or you don't. But it was, again, I like Brian Thomas Jr. He's amazing. I said him and Trevor Lawrence together is like coffee and beignets. It's an awesome combination.
So can he make the contested catches, though? That's what I was a little afraid of, is that he doesn't have that go up and get it thing to catch the ball in traffic.
We haven't really seen it as much, but that's where Gabe Davis comes in. That's everybody got to know their role. You got to know what your ministry is. His ministry is I'm going to just I'm going to outrun people. Gabe Davis's ministry needs to be the streets. And that's when you go up and get them contested balls. Like he got to go out and get it out the mud. And that's what we need. That's really actually when we go back to the culture, too many people don't know their role. You got to know what your role is. Like tight end's role here in this is be nasty and mean and fight people. Gabe Davis' role, catch them contested passes, man. And we haven't had that yet, but if that comes on, it's going to there'll be a pretty good ball club.
So James Coleman, a fullback and a badass fullback. Fullback is just, it's gone away, James. It's crushing. It's crushing just to us. I imagine it's got to hurt your soul a little bit to see most teams not even roster a fullback.
In this political climate, America was great when we had a fullback, when more teams have fullbacks. And we'll see America made great again. Because I can tell you this, that people tell me nobody uses the fullback, and I tell them that's where you're wrong. All the good teams use fullback. The Ravens use a fullback. The 49ers have juice. The Chiefs used to have one that was pretty damn good as well. Those are the teams that consistently make the championship. So if you want to be good, and you know why the Jags won? They didn't have a fullback, but they went 2 tight ends, and they shifted one of them basically in a 3-point stance in the backfield, and that's why they won the game. I have this saying, if you want to win, get the ball to the damn fullback, and you'll win.
Well, you're gonna enjoy this because what the Bears have been doing over the last couple of weeks is that they've moved a backup offensive lineman, number 68, Doug Kramer, into the role of fullback.
And your quarterback has been throwing the ball better now.
It's true, actually. It's true.
I'm saying football's not as complicated as people make it, man. Get a damn fullback and punch people in the mouth, and you're going to play MFer ball, throw the ball where there's less MFers at, and run the ball where there's less MFers at, and you're going to win a lot of games.
That's why Power Ode is called God's play.
God's play. No, serious though. Like
right.
You show a defense you can run the ball, they get scared, they get beaten up mentally, and then all of a sudden you can do whatever you want to them, right, James? That's how it works.
The worst way to lose is to give up a bunch of rushing yards. It's just because a pass you can pray that they'll drop the ball, right? But if you're just getting destroyed, you're just like, oh my God. The game is only like 3 real hours. It becomes 7 in football years when you can't stop the run. And it's just, and it feels good. Like, injuries don't hurt as bad when you're beating up on people. Like, you ever notice people's hamstrings really get tight when they're losing? Like, hamstring, have you ever seen a hamstring injury in a blowout, on the good side of a blowout? It's only on the bad side of blowouts. But like good smash mouth football up there where you guys are at in Chicago when it's cold, it's dope.
I wish we were in the Jaguars division, Lawrence, so we could talk to James twice a year.
I do too. James, God bless you and your ministry. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
That is James Coleman. We appreciate him for jumping on and telling us about what the Jaguars are up to. There's another stadium conversation that we need to